As the flames of revolution consume Iran, a terrifying echo is reaching the gates of Beijing. From secret blueprints for homemade weapons flooding social media to the shocking capture of Nicholas Maduro, the myth of the invincible dictator is shattering. Inside China, the social contract has been torn to pieces. Factories are burning, silent protests are turning into open defiance, and the elite are in a state of panic as the Red Horse Year 2026 approaches. Is the CCP facing its final countdown? Previously, there have been multiple incidents of citizens rising up to bomb or target corrupt CCP officials and their families. The wave of killing officials and wiping out clans is spreading widely. In Inhung Video Nai, creators bluntly declared, "If you can't buy it, you make it yourself," while emphasizing the lethal potential of such devices. The imagery and language quickly drew massive attention, laying bare the deep-seated anger simmering within Chinese society. The clips circulating online openly showcased a variety of homemade weapons, including rubber bands combined with springs, multi-shot harpoon crossbows, high-tension pulley slingshots, and wooden horn-style crossbows. The comment sections were anything but casual. Users went straight to discussing lethality, penetration power, and practical effectiveness. Some claim that composite bows represent the pinnacle of long-range cold weapons, requiring little strength, offering high stability, and at medium to short range, even exceeding the penetrating power of handguns. Searches on Douyin suggested that Chinese authorities had rushed to delete large numbers of videos related to homemade weapons. Keywords like homemade weapons, DIY weapon videos, and weapon recommendations remained visible in search prompts, revealing a reactive and belated censorship effort. Only after the Iran upheaval did Beijing appear to grasp how dangerous this trend had become. The roots of this resonance lie in Iran's own reality. Under prolonged authoritarian rule, Iran's economy has collapsed. The rial has sharply depreciated, and rampant corruption combined with inept governance has pushed public anger beyond the breaking point. From December 28, 2025, to the present, protests erupted in Tehran and swiftly spread nationwide. Facing mounting pressure, Iranian authorities were accused of using brutal force to suppress the demonstrations. Human rights organizations report that at least 500 protesters have been killed. On Chinese social media, mainland netizens openly cheered the Iranian people. Meanwhile, Chinese state media marched in the opposite direction. Party mouthpieces labeled Iranian protesters as rioters and even reported that an Iranian police station had been attacked by thugs. This narrative immediately triggered a backlash online. One netizen noted that a single related news post attracted 6,390 comments, not a single one supporting the Iranian police. Others fired back bluntly. They're not rioters. They're courageous people. And those who stand against the people are the real rioters. Political commentator Dang Feng pointed out that the CCP moved swiftly to seal off related information. On WeChat, words such as Tehran and rial were designated as sensitive keywords to prevent public association. Much like major shareholders of Chinese state-owned enterprises who flee before collapse, or the so-called national team entering markets to help the powerful cash out, Iran's traditional bazaar merchants have now turned into opponents. This shift sends a stark warning to China's middle class and private entrepreneurs. Over-reliance on the system can ultimately turn beneficiaries into sacrifices when the state's coffers finally run dry. When Iranians can topple their tyrants with bare hands and unity, the Chinese public sees its own path clearly. Protest songs ring out. Mockery online nationwide. Xi becomes public enemy number one. China's anti-Xi movement grows, along with calls for his ouster. Recently, cracks began to surface quietly at first, not only through mass protests but also via underground waves emerging from spaces. A phenomenon spread rapidly across China's internet at a pace difficult to contain. Netizens call it tower charging. Under state propaganda articles, videos, and images, waves of off-key comments appeared. There were no overt slogans, no explicit calls for overthrow, just sarcasm, wordplay, and nicknames aimed at those in power. Tower charging is a low-risk, high-viral form of resistance that reflects widespread public resentment. On Douyin, content once considered untouchable began to reappear. Images of Tiananmen on June 4th. The Tank Man, and coded language alluding to mocking Xi Jinping. Some users even used official CCP news posts as backdrops, placing dissenting comments directly beneath them. The CCP maintains its rule through censorship, deception, and fear, not through any genuine political legitimacy. After the United States captured Venezuelan strongman Nicholas Maduro, the fractures in Chinese public opinion became even clearer. A growing number openly congratulated the Venezuelan people and left comments subtly expressing hope that a similar scenario might one day unfold in China. On Douyin live stream comment feeds, messages such as FOS and Save Me alluding to wanting the United States to come and arrest Xi Jinping appeared in large numbers. When China's foreign ministry demanded Maduro's release, official news videos about the incident were immediately drowned in mocking comments. Some users openly voiced support for the U.S. action. The authority of the CCP is eroding in parallel with the collapse of Xi Jinping's personal authority, a series of similar actions, such as hanging banners and the toilet revolution, accusing and calling for the overthrow of the CCP and Xi Jinping have appeared with increasing boldness and frequency. Opposition to Xi and opposition to the CCP have now merged into a broad social front. A recent video posted by a netizen in Jiangsu captured a factory consumed by flames. Thick black smoke rose over the industrial zone, while one line dominated the comment section. "We got paid, so our factory didn't burn." Similar scenes have surfaced repeatedly across the country. Factories in multiple regions have gone up in flames without warning, inflicting severe losses. In many cases, wages were withheld. Owners claimed they were out of money or simply vanished, leaving workers to fend for themselves. Another widely circulated clip on YouTube showed a garment factory torched by its own workers after the owner failed to pay months of wages. The uploader summed it up bluntly: "Working all year is already hard enough. You still have to fight just to get paid." Elsewhere, a migrant worker confronted a factory boss, kicked over a workbench, and said flatly, "You have no money, and you still expect me to keep working?" When someone suggested calling the police, many commenters replied that the boss had connections with local authorities and had nothing to fear. At the same time, many cities have deployed drones to monitor electric scooter violations and issue fines. This technological surveillance is increasingly viewed as a tool for financial extraction rather than safety. Online, a single question keeps resurfacing. If drones can fly everywhere to find people, where are they when children go missing? One comment shared widely read: "They never miss when it comes to finding ordinary people." But as northern China entered the coldest stretch of winter, many households refused to turn on heating. Coal use had been banned, natural gas prices were high, and subsidies had been reduced or eliminated. One rural mother told her daughter, "Heating costs more than 50 yuan a day. One winter costs 4,000 to 5,000 yuan, and the house is still cold." Nearly every household had gas installed, yet few dared to use it. Meanwhile, cities across China launched another wave of road repairs. Roads resurfaced just a year earlier were dug up again. Citizens asked openly, "Bad roads aren't fixed, so why tear up the good ones?" One comment spread rapidly online: "People can't afford food, but money keeps flowing into ripping up roads." This year, numerous major cities abruptly canceled New Year countdown events, triggering public anger. Thousands of people waited for hours in plazas as screens displayed 3, 2, 1, then they suddenly went dark. The crowd stood in silence and darkness. Some cursed openly. Even moments of joy, many said, can be switched off at will under dictatorship. In early January 2026, a woman in Hong Kong who failed to complete a mobile payment smashed a shop with a knife and confronted police. Online reactions were swift. Hong Kong is becoming like the mainland. The term social revenge appeared with growing frequency, describing spontaneous acts of violence amid economic collapse. On January 3, 2026, news that the U.S. military had captured Venezuelan President Nicholas Maduro spread rapidly across Chinese social media. Many netizens praised U.S. military efficiency, joking that capturing a president was faster than catching a chicken. Others mocked the operation as unlike the CCP, which they said relies on flashy drills and empty slogans. One comment asked openly, "When will this happen in China? Capture Xi Jinping and put him on trial." The following day, Shanghai entrepreneur Hu Liqiang wrote on X that Maduro's capture had thrown Xi Jinping into a state of panic. The regime's heavy-handed repression has only intensified public anger, with social frustration rising by the day. Many now openly hope for the CCP's collapse and the arrival of a China defined by freedom and democracy. The fallout from the capture of Nicholas Maduro continues to ripple outward, reshaping the geopolitical landscape. This was not simply an extraordinary cross-border military operation. It was a direct strike at the network of left-wing authoritarian regimes in the Western Hemisphere. A mainland blogger summed up the pattern with biting sarcasm, warning that China has become a place foreign strongmen should no longer visit lightly. Political fortunes have a habit of collapsing soon after such trips. With Maduro's fall, that chain of dependency began to snap immediately. Cuba, already suffering its worst economic crisis in decades, now faces the loss of its most critical energy lifeline. President Donald Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio stated bluntly that Cuba is on the brink of collapse. The shock did not stop there. Cuban authorities unusually acknowledged that their soldiers and security personnel had been killed while helping protect Maduro. Attention quickly shifted to Colombia. Under President Gustavo Petro, Bogotá has taken a markedly China-friendly turn and formally joined Beijing's Belt and Road Initiative. A viral video of a well-known military pundit losing emotional control circulated widely as a symbol of shattered confidence. This was a direct blow to Beijing's narrative that the United States is in terminal decline. The reality of American interventionism has forced a painful reassessment of power dynamics. Analysts argue that the operation also disrupted a series of diplomatic initiatives China had been quietly advancing across Latin America. Beijing's slogans of shared development rang hollow when its most important regional ally was arrested days after high-level exchanges. Moat Vai Quan Sat Veen suggested that any reckless attempt to use force against Taiwan could transform Xi Jinping into the next Maduro. We're grateful you joined us for China Today. If you value independent journalism, we'd love for you to subscribe and be part of the discussion. See you next time. Stay informed and stay well.